this is a PowerPoint on the Ungoro quests. Starting, of course, with Druid, and you have Jungle Giants, which gives you Barnabas the Stomper. After you summon 4 minions with 5 more attack, you get Barnabas. Barnabas will then make all the minions in your deck cost 0. So you can gain a lot of value from him. You can run a lot, and I mean a lot of super expensive minions to try and outvalue your opponent. And it's not the worst thing in the world. It has actually gotten a lot of support over the years. The most important one, of course, being Scourge Rager, which is 3 mana 5/4 that has Battlecry, Die, and Reborn. So it'll give you 2 activators of your quest. You can also use the Rhythm and Roots legendary spell from Festival of Legends to get 5/5s, which will then also trigger your Jungle Giants. It's not as great, but it's something you can do. This deck is not amazing. You're better off doing literally anything because Druid has infinite mana anyway, so Barnabas is not that great. However, it is very fun and it is a fan favorite. Then, for Hunter, you have the Marsh Queen and Queen Carnassa. This was also buffed in Caverns of Time Twist to make it so you have 20 Raptors and Queen Carnassa herself has Rush. The deck sucked. People were hesitant about this card when it was first released. They're like, oh, if you give Aggro Hunter, all this card draw from the Raptors, except it didn't work. It didn't actually give you card draw because you were just drawing more Raptors, so it didn't really do anything. As well as completing the quest is quite hard. If you play this on 1, your turns 2, 3, and 4, you have 9 mana total before you would be able to tempo Carnassa out on 5. So it's actually not easy to do. It's not easy to get that many 1-drops that early either. So the deck was not very good it's not good at all, I should say. But it did become a lot better with the printing of your Trinket Tracker, which draws you the good card, of course, in Awakening Tremors, which gives you 3 1-mana minions. They are 3 ones now. They were 4 ones. And that's the best way to do it, right? That gives you 4 1-mana minions for 1 card to draw it all, and it's not the worst thing ever, I will admit. I played a list up to, I think it was 500 Legend, during an Even Warrior meta, when Even Warrior was still around, because it just completely farms that deck. It's like an unwinnable matchup for the Even Warrior, to be honest. So I played a lot of that, and it was really fun. Then, of course, you have Open the Waygate and Time Warp. This was just recently nerfed to now have the tagline once per game, because it didn't before that, so you would just go infinite. Open the Waygate has had so many different cards nerfed. It has been nerfed twice itself. It went from 6 spells to 8, and then it went from take an extra turn to once per game as well. It's got numerous other cards nerfed. It's probably the best quest on this list overall. It's a degenerate card, straight up. It's still good because of Ignite Mage being still very good, and I hate it. I hate having to see this deck, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Then, for Paladin, you have the last Kaleidosaur and Galvadon. From the Ungoro Crater a long time ago comes an underpowered friend, often too slow. I fucking love that song. It's so great. If you haven't heard it, it's the official Galvadon theme song, is what it's called. It's great. I mean, Galvadon fucking sucks, so I don't really have anything else to say about it. He's just a bad card. It's one of those cards that can also never get better because just, how could it? Unless you would have, you could play 5 spells for free on, turn 2 or some shit, you're just never gonna make it work. And Galvadon himself is a bad reward, so, both ways, he's just a bad card. Then, for Priest, you have Amara, Warden of Hope, and Awaken the Makers. Amara actually was quite good in Standard after Boomsday was printed, with Dead Ringer being able to draw your death rattles, have a very good cheap death rattle to be repeatable for your Awakened Makers quest. And then obviously getting Amara is great. You can bounce Amaras, you can have multiple different ways to get back your Amara, I guess, to get more health, and then you can keep out healing your opponent, out grinding your opponent, and just win the game that way. Amara's still a 5-mana 8/8, so it's not like that feels good to leave on board for your opponent anyway with taunt. So you would take 8 damage. It was just a pretty good card. But, I mean, nowadays, if you really want 40 health that bad, you should just play Renathal. Or if you want to, have a big health deck, you would rather play Death Knight because of Vampiric Blood being a really strong card. If there's just no reason to play this deck anymore. Maybe if they printed some more support for it, it would be fine in Wild, honestly. There's a lot of things that you could do to make this card decent in Wild, but it's just awkward, and I'm not really expecting to see this be a relevant card ever again, to be honest. Then you have the Caverns Below and Crystal Core. This is easily one of the most controversial cards ever. People thought it was going to be terrible on release, and then it wasn't actually. It was a good card, don't get me wrong, but it really wasn't as strong as people made it out to be. It was nerfed twice, if I remember correctly. It was 5 minions have to be played, and then they were 4/4s, so it was nerfed twice. It was reverted eventually, and it was pretty decent. It's still an okay deck in Wild if you can high roll and get your Wind Fury magnetic mechs, so you can have 15/15 Wind Fury hit your opponent in the face. That's a good way to win the game. But the card is just the definition of polarizing. It is an actual coin flip card. If you play against anything that beats you before you can get the effect off, you just instantly lose every single time. There's nothing you can do. If you play against anything slow, you just fucking outgrind the shit out of them. There's nothing that they can do. It's very, very, very toxic card that Blizzard has tried not to print similar cards for, but it's almost like they printed the Demon Seed, so who knows? Then for Shaman, we have Unite the Murlocs and Megathin. I mean, this card's terrible. I'm going to be real with you. If you want to play a Murloc deck in Wild, do not play this card. It actively makes your deck worse to have your turn 1 in an aggro deck. Murloc Shaman is an aggro deck, no matter how you try and swing it. Skipping your turn 1 for Megathin of all cards is not worth it. You have infinite Murlocs anyway from Howdy Fin and your Underbelly Angler and other ways to generate Murlocs. So it's not like you actually run out of gas in Murloc Shaman. That's not the issue with the deck. So Megathin is completely worthless, and it just makes you skip your turn 1. It's genuinely a terrible card. For Warlock, same thing. Lakari Sacrifice. I mean, discard Warlock didn't really exist as a playable archetype until you had, You had the spiders from Skullomance and the discard your lowest cost card, give all minions +1/+1 on board from Dark Moon Fair. That's when Discard Warlock really started to be an actual playable archetype. And guess what? Nether Portal, Lakari Sacrifice, those weren't in that era. Those never would have gone in that deck anyway, because this is a value card. It is a value card in an aggro archetype that is all about using your resources inefficiently so you can gain an additional edge. Which is why a value card is very bad, because why the fuck are you trying to go late with this card? That's where value cards make the most use, but if you're using your resources inefficiently to try and kill your opponent, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they printed Nether Portal. It's such a fucking anomaly that this card is genuinely an anomaly card that makes no possible sense in any kind of deck building, game design at all. I'm just so baffled by it. It genuinely makes me upset that a card like this, that could be genuinely so cool, is so fucking worthless. These quests just do something to me, man. Holy shit. And then you have Fireplume's Heart and Sulfuris. This one was actually pretty good on release. It was pretty good in Ungoro. It fell off in use and power level as the expansions came out, and now it's pretty much useless in Wild. It is still something fun you can play, but if you wanted to play if you wanted to play a Taunt Warrior, you have to play as an aggro deck, and again, skipping your turn 1 for not that great reward even after you complete the quest isn't good. However, if you want to play a full dedicated Fireplume's Heart deck, you can run Sing-Along Buddy and Garrison Commander for 32 damage on your turns. Is it good? No. Is it funny? Abso-fucking-lutely. Sometimes your opponent just doesn't know what's happening, and then they just get nuked from 32 from hand on turn 8, and they have no idea what just happened. It is absolutely hilarious. Woo! That being said, do you enjoy it? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what your favorite quest is down below, what your least favorite quest is. Do you wish that Blizzard would buff any of these cards and nerf any of these cards? What do you guys think? And if you haven't already, go check out the Galvadon song. It's so fucking good. It's actually a genuinely good song. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been.